Hey guys, welcome to a new series that I'm going to have on this channel called BIS for the fans. So this is a series where I really want to focus a bit more on the community. You know, in the past when I've been making the Bionicle Inspiration series, I've had a lot of comments, some beautiful praise that I'm very grateful for, where a lot of people have said they really like what BIS is because, and by BIS I mean the Bionicle Inspiration series, of course. I have a lot of people who say they really appreciate what it is because it's a way to kind of spotlight lesser known builders in the community. It's a way to keep the community alive, cover a lot of the awesome stuff that comes from the community, and yeah, it's just a great way to keep the Bionicle community alive in a time when we don't really have any construction available. And I really kind of thought about that and went, okay, how can I continue to do so and do that in new ways? And so I came up with this series where I'm really going to sort of spotlight builders a little bit more, and as well just kind of talk a little bit more about, you know, what's going on in the community, stuff like that. So specifically what we're going to talk about today, I'm going to spotlight and talk about one really talented builder. This is going to be the kind of format for the show in general. I don't know what the release schedule for these will be like. I'm thinking one a week, maybe bi-weekly, I don't know. But pretty much how these are going to go, I'm going to have a little bit of a segment where I, spotlight a builder, and then I'm going to talk directly about one audience-submitted mock from a fan, and that'll be another kind of way to spotlight someone from the community. This will probably be a more lesser-known builder, though, which is exciting. And we're also going to have a little bit of a chat about LEGO news, and also just have a little bit of a chat about, you know, mocking in general, just give you some tips and tricks, that sort of thing. Perfect. Oh, and answer some audience questions. I don't think I said that. So we'll do all of that sort of stuff. Fun stuff. Sound good? Sound great. Alright, so let's start off with spotlighting our first builder, which is Mike Nieves. So Mike Nieves is otherwise known as Retinance. He is an AFOL who's currently working for the LEGO Group, surprisingly. So his current job is a master model builder at the Philadelphia LEGO Discovery Center, where he repairs, fixes, and makes all the models that you see there. I'm very jealous. That's really cool. So as of the time of recording this, Mike's currently working on recreating all of the Eevee evolutions, Eevee from Pokemon of course, out of LEGO. Here's some that he's built so far. So a lot of them utilize a lot of system parts. So I guess, you know, sort of his time with LEGO, he's kind of, you know, sort of integrated more sort of system into his building style. And it's really cool, you know. And kind of on Mike's building style, it kind of tends to be very organic, very smooth, have a lot of kind of curved shapes and textures. It's really awesome, to be honest. And we see a lot of this with his evolutions, and we see a lot of this throughout his work. It often revolves around sort of creating and recreating the sort of overall shapes and figures of many animals, you know, Pokemon or humans. And speaking of Pokemon, Mike absolutely loves them, as I'm sure a few of the fans of this show do, as do I. So he's actually recently recreated this awesome shiny Gyarados, which is inspired by one of the old images that you got when you opened up Pokemon Go, the really awesome app. This is one of the old OG images when you first opened the game when it first came out. I remember those times when Pokemon Go came out. What a great time that was. Because, man, that was like the first 2 months when like everyone was playing, everyone in the world, like millions of people. That was like world peace. Everyone was just happy. Everyone was just having a good time. You could go up to any stranger and just be like, hey man, did you catch a Pikachu? And be like, yeah, what's up? What a good time. That's what world peace is like. Anyway, I'm getting off track. So, this is actually not the first time that Mike has made a Gyarados mock. He actually made a very Bionicle heavy one in the past. And I think it's really interesting to kind of examine this older mock versus one of his more recent builds, where just kind of see how it's evolved over the years, you know? Things have become a lot less gappy in areas where there were sort of more like messier textures before. That's kind of been cleaned up. And overall, Mike's kind of just, in general, kind of refined his building style to be more kind of well-rounded, sort of smoother, more organic. It's really, really cool. It's really awesome to see how it's evolved over the years. Let's talk a bit about Mike's recent work. Some of the other stuff that he's done recently is sort of more humanoid characters. And these have been really cool, whether it's sort of Disney characters or just like fairies and different things like that. They've all been fantastic builds. And it's really interesting to see how his sort of curved lines and things that are very often associated with his build style have worked really well in kind of capturing this female form. I think he's mastered that, honestly. Another really fascinating technique that he's been able to employ in some of these fairies that we see is the wing designs. So Mike's used a really interesting kind of brick bending technique where you utilize studs and plates. And so as a result of like the curved texture, or not texture, the curved shape of the studs, you're able to kind of curve the plates around it. And as a result, you can kind of bend the sort of wing leaf-like piece there and get some really interesting shapes and styles out of it, which is really interesting. And again, it fits very much with his style. It's a really nice technique. So in 2015, Mike participated in the Iron Builder competition, which is a really system-focused AFOL competition, which sadly is invite-only, but it's a really, really high-quality, awesome contest where 2 builders over on Flickr are chosen, and they are given a seed part, and from that, they have to find all these different, unique, and creative ways of sort of integrating that one specific part in a heap of different mocks. And it's a beautiful contest to follow because you can learn so much about how to use this part. You know, sometimes they're given the most obscure pieces and use them in the most creative and unique ways. It's really, really fun to follow. So Mike entered, and he was up against a system builder called C. Madison. Sadly, Mr. C. Madison won, and Mike did not, but they both managed to produce some really fantastic mocks, and so definitely be sure to check some of that stuff out, because it's really beautiful, that Iron Builder competition. You're able to see some fantastic part usages. It's really fun to follow. So going a little bit more into Mike's more sort of Bionicle-focused mocks, he uses a lot of, again, curved, smooth, and really sleek designs. He's no stranger to illegal techniques as well, and as a result, I think some of his illegal techniques are beautiful because they lead to some really unique and extremely innovative work. You know, one really cool example is how he uses minifigure helmets as, you know, kind of the pieces that he uses for, like, toes on, you know, for example, his Tiger mock, which is probably one of the most iconic Bionicle builds out there. It's beautiful. It's insane. The amount of people that have seen this and not even realized it's Lego. It's awesome. So I think it's a brilliant design, and sure, it puts a little bit of stress on the parts, but I think it really nails the look, and it's awesome. Mike also does some commissions as well, so be sure to give him a little bit of a contact if you're interested in purchasing something from him. Here's some of his older commissions as well. Just, I'm sure if there's something you want to see built in Lego, you're happy to pay him a little bit, then he's more than happy to build it, or I'm sure he's even more than happy to build some of his older stuff as well, who knows. Mike was also lucky enough to be gifted some early access G2 Bionicle parts before Lego even announced that Bionicle G2 was returning. This was simply so he could kind of play around with them, just sort of see the versatility of the parts, and kind of talk to Lego about, his thoughts and opinions on what they're like and how he can use them, and just sort of show off how it works. Lucky son of a... I'm super jealous. I wish I got early access G2 parts. So you can sometimes find Mike at Lego conventions like Brick Fair. He's been there a few times in the past, and he's even won a few awards while he's been there, so nice job, good sir. Now, let's talk a little bit about some of Mike's really, really early work. So a lot of his older stuff was focusing on some Halo characters, and was very, very Bionicle heavy. It's interesting, again, to kind of look back at his older stuff and see how his style has progressed. We see a lot of these signature, organic, and curved shapes that are really retinants, and it's interesting how a lot of that style is still there, but it looks very different. And I think that's essentially just because at the time that these were made, which was like 2008, 2009, we had a very limited selection of G1 Bionicle parts, and we had absolutely no construction, CCBS sort of stuff. And so his style was really unique and different at the time, even though it was vastly different to what it is now. And I think Mike certainly is a really nice example of how modern CCBS construction parts has vastly changed the way that the community builds. When you take a look at how his style is relatively close to how it is now, but sort of more refined and different because of construction and just because of how he's grown as a builder over these years, which is really awesome. So that's it for our little bit of a discussion about Mike Nieves. Next episode, we're going to spotlight another builder, talk a little bit about their building style, some of their mocks, just to talk a little bit about them, see what we can learn about these guys. So stay tuned next time to see who it is that I talk about. So let's head to the next segment of the show, where we're going to briefly discuss a fan-submitted mock to the show. Now, this is a mock by Xanto Productions, and is called Aldehester, the Ghoul Keeper. So one thing I absolutely love about this mock, and that's surprisingly really unique about it, is it uses this really awesome sort of shield arm design kind of concept here. He's used some of the old lids from the old Hero Factory sets, some of the old canisters that they came in, and he's managed to sort of repurpose them as a really cool looking kind of shield design sort of thing. I think that's really unique, I think that's really cool, and it kind of opens up a lot of interesting pathways. Can you use canister parts on a mock? I think that's really cool. Plus, too, it's actually a surprisingly awesome, helpful shape that's kind of shield-like, kind of sort of futuristic in some degree. So, interesting to see those being used as a really clever arm design here. I think that's really, really awesome. Something else that's really cool, too, is the lower legs. I really like these because he's integrated the split face torsos here. Now, split face, of course, was like Two-Face from Batman. He was split in half, for one color being more red and one color being more kind of gunmetal. And so I think it's really interesting being able to use those parts down here on the legs, because the sort of 50-50 contrasting color scheme of that part is a little bit less noticeable, and it kind of just looks like, I don't know, it's kind of integrated nicely with some of the trans orange and trans red throughout this mock here, and it just kind of looks like a different visual element on the mock. It doesn't sort of stand out too much or jar in any way, which is sort of a little bit of a risk that you might have with some of those 50-50 exclusive parts that came with split face. And so I think that's a really interesting way of incorporating some of those printed elements onto a mock. And I think it's really effective and really nicely done. Also a really awesome head design, using the Vakama Turaga mask here, sort of using the hole that kind of is naturally formed on the top of that mask there, and then putting it upside down, and then kind of putting an eye there. It's a really interesting Cyclops looking design there. I think it's really cool. And also even cooler to see he's used the eye holes there and sort of shoved these claw pieces in them there as a really interesting connection point. I think it's really cool. I think it's really unique and, yeah, really awesome. So a lot of really clever stuff going on here from Mr. Xanto Productions. Be sure to check the links in the description to check out some of his other stuff, as well as links to Mike's stuff and a few of the other links to things that I'll be talking about throughout the rest of the show. So let's head on into question time. So you ask me questions and I answer them, Q&A style. If you have any future questions for this little segment of the show that you would like to ask in future, be sure to just leave them in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them next time. So, 4 questions. First one is a dual question, because a few people have asked this. This was a question by either Lego Metal or Kai13 Heavy Drone, and it's, how does one get on the podcast? This, of course, being the Bionicle Inspiration Series podcast. To quote Luke Skywalker from Battlefront 2, because you asked. If you ask, maybe I'll say yes. But also maybe I won't. I don't know. There are, sadly, a few kind of restrictions that I have with the BIS podcast, mainly because, you know, people are listening to the show, and if you don't have a great mic quality, it's an hour of content, and that might be a little bit more difficult for some people to listen to. It makes it a bit harder for me to edit and record, all that sort of stuff. So I kind of have to have a little bit of quality control there, which is a little bit of a shame, because I don't really like kind of having that high level of quality control. I don't like being elitist in any way. I love having anyone on, no matter their skill set, no matter how young or how old they are. There's no kind of, like, I'd never kind of not have someone on because of, I don't know, any kind of weird reason. I'd happily put anyone on. But, you know, yeah, if your mic quality isn't too good, it's more likely I might say no. But hey, ask, show me how your mic quality is. If I'm able to actually have a conversation with you too, you know, if it's not as easy to converse with you, then you may not make the most entertaining content. And sadly, I kind of have to think about that because, you know, it's an hour of content, all that sort of stuff. But hey, you know, like Luke Skywalker said, ask. See what happens. See what happens. The next question is by Nerdy Mox, and he asks, what are your thoughts on brickheads? I love brickheads. I think they're awesome. I'm actually not a fan of Funko Pops at all. Don't like them, straight up. I really like, with Funko Pops, the collectability of them. The fact that, like, the amount of times I've walked into a big old wall of Funko Pops in some, like, collectibles store and been like, oh man, there's Ahsoka, Captain Rex, there's, you know, like, Captain Marvel, like, oh, there's all sorts of awesome, you know, Marvel or comic book characters or whatever, and it's like, oh man, they've got even some of the obscure ones that I really like. But I don't know, I just don't like the design. I don't really like the bobblehead look. I'd rather, you know, instead of paying like, I don't know, $20 for one Funko Pop, I'd rather fork out like $80 and get some like collectible figure of some kind that looks more sort of authentic to the original source material. Don't know if I'd fork out, you know, like $500 for a hot toy. I'd like to, but that's a lot of money. I don't know about that. But I surprisingly really like brickheads. That design, even though it's similar to a Funko Pop, it's not the same, and I don't know, I just like it. I collect as many as I can. There's like 80 of them now, which is insane. I really want a lot of the like Comic-Con exclusives, but I'm not paying, you know, like $500 or however much they go for. But I like them. I've got some on my desk at the moment. I'm looking at most of the Avengers. There's a couple DC ones I've got some Star Wars ones too, and I plan on picking up more in the future because they're fun. They're really fun, and I love them. This is the reason I love them most of all, is they always have really solid pieces in them. Like, I have probably bought 10 Aquaman brickheads, because the pieces in that are incredible. And I keep using all of them in mocks, and I just keep buying more, and they're cheap, and it's great. So, yeah, I love them. I love them. This question is by Sleek Bricks, and is, what projects are you working on at the moment? Well, I'm working on a lot. I've got Brickvention 2019. I'm going to start work on that quite soon. I've planned everything with my collaboration man, Eli Brinsmead, EB, as he's called. We've got a plan set out. I just need to make a few Bricklink orders, and I can pretty much get started now, but I'm currently working on a Marvel diorama at the moment, which there's a couple teaser photos of it on Flickr at the moment, so you can head on over and check those out. I'm not going to say what it is, because spoilers. I got a few Clone Wars mocks ready to post. I've got an Avengers mock that it's so old. I finished that mock like 5 years ago, but I just haven't photographed it. I'm sorry. It's big. I don't know how to photograph it. I have my huge Order Plutonia Star Wars mock finished. That thing is huge. That took me like 6 years to make. I don't know how to photograph that either. It's done, but I just don't know how to photograph it yet. I need to figure that out. I have a Bionicle that I haven't posted yet. I just need to write the story for it, and I'll post it. That'll probably be like the next thing I post, or like second next thing. Maybe I'll post the Clone Wars mock soon. I don't know. I have a bunch of Bionicles planned. I have like a Word document of like 50 Bionicles I want to build. I got heaps of ideas. It's more just like, you know, a system mock takes priority, or being an adult takes priority, which is always a shame, but you know, that's how it works. So I got heaps planned. If you read any of the stories that are either on mine or Cody G's channel, because for those of you who don't know, my Bionicle story was co-written by my good man Cody G. You read any of those stories, majority of those characters are going to be made. That's my plan, is to make most of them. So there's like 20 odd mocks from those stories, so eventually most of those will be built. Yeah, that's it. I'm sure I have more, and none of it's coming to mind right now, but I got a lot of mocks planned, and like 5 or 6 mocks to post still. Some I've photographed, some I haven't, and I'm just waiting for a good time to, you know, when I got a bit of free time and I can post it, really. Final question is by Skeptical Bricks, which is an ironic name because of his question. And his question is, how are you able to build such a large quantity of mocks at this quality, at least compared to other people who often spend weeks or months on their builds? First of all, thank you for the compliment. Thank you for saying my mocks are high quality. I appreciate that. How do I do it? Well, I just build. That's going to sound like a cop-out answer, but it's not. I just build. I enjoy doing it, and I just kind of do it. I've kind of trained myself out of like being too perfectionist with things. So like I don't kind of spend too long on something or kind of deliberate about anything. I just kind of do it. That's kind of my creative process, is just throw something at a wall and see what sticks. And as a result, I'll just build something and then it'll be like, cool, done. I normally need to like draw like a sketch, and then I can kind of start building something. Like I need to have a visual image that I can kind of be working off. I'm an ideas man. Like I get so many ideas so quickly. Give me like 10 minutes. I'll probably have 10 ideas ready for you for whatever it is. So I just get heaps of ideas and I just always want to do them. I also don't judge any of my ideas. Like for example, a lot of the times when I'm doing like art classes and stuff, they'll be all like, yeah, jot down some like thumbnails and ideas, and I'll like bang out like heaps in a really short period of time. And other people will be like, how do you do that? And I'm like, I don't know, I just don't judge what's coming out. Like it's really not up to me if it's good or bad. Like I just throw it out, go through with it, don't judge anything, because judgment kills creativity. And then it's my job after to worry about if it's actually, you know, needs some refinement or whatever. Because most of the time version 1 is the better version. You're just kind of fooling yourself into thinking it'll be terrible. And then when you do it, you're like, actually, this isn't that bad. Or it turns out it is bad, and you're like, okay, I need to do a version 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, you know. But yeah, once you kind of can kind of get out of your own head, that helps a lot. That said, I am no expert at that. I still get in my own way a lot of the time. But I think that's how I can bang out mocks really quickly, is I just kind of don't get in my own way. I think. I don't know. I'm just a fast builder, I guess. That said, I've had mocks that took me 6 years, like I said before. So there you go. Who knows? Yeah, maybe I hope that answered your questions. So, that's it for questions. As Yoda once said, clear your mind of questions. Let's move on to the next segment, which is the final segment, where we're going to discuss some recent LEGO news of some kind. So what are we going to discuss? I want to discuss LEGO Overwatch. So we've had some rumors about that. It got confirmed. We got a little bit of a teaser from LEGO, and it looks like these Overwatch sets are going to be minifigure based, at least from the teaser. However, a lot of people have had rumors going like, well, we're going to get some CCBS Overwatch. That'd be really cool, and it would be really cool. So who knows? Who knows? Are we going to get CCBS Overwatch? I'm just going to kind of discuss, I don't know, what are we expecting from LEGO Overwatch? What do we think is going to happen? And I'd be keen to hear your thoughts in the comments as well. So my question about this, do kids actually want action figures anymore? You know, why is it that CCBS has kind of died out? We don't know for a fact if it's died out. It seems that way, which really sucks. Really sucks. But do kids really want it? Do kids really want to play with action figures? Do they rather want to play on an iPad? You know, do they want to play make believe with not with minifigures, with action figures, or do they want to go play it on a PlayStation? I don't know. You know? Who knows? I don't know enough facts about whether or not that's true, but I feel like that's kind of the reason. And so kind of with that, it's like, okay, well, how can they make action figures accessible, right? You know? And I kind of think, you know, for example, the best-selling sets traditionally with Lego are the vehicles, you know, or the cool cars or stuff like that, the ones with cool play features, stuff like that. And so I go, well, CCBS stands for Character Creature Build System, right? It's not Character Vehicle Build System, but what if we saw more sort of CCBS vehicle-based things? You know, I know there's some kind of... I don't play Overwatch, so maybe this was the wrong conversation to have, but I don't think there's any kind of vehicles in Overwatch. I know there's some mechs and stuff in it, but maybe Overwatch-wise, it doesn't quite work that way. But at least, you know, what if we saw a CCBS wave of spaceships? Whether they're a new original IP from LEGO, or it's, you know, here's a Quinjet from Avengers, or here's Anakin's Jedi Starfighter in CCBS. That'd be interesting. It'd be interesting. It would make for some really cool new pieces. I feel like it could be really accessible for people. Who knows? I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I don't know these things. But I think that's one interesting pathway which could allow us for some CCBS. But going back to Overwatch, we're definitely going to be getting system sets for this. We could still very well get construction figures as well. Heck, that was happening with Star Wars for a bit, you know? And it kind of got me thinking, you know, well, are there other themes that could have got CCBS stuff? A lot of people were campaigning for Nexo Knights construction figures, which would have been awesome. Who knows? Are there other sets that could very well get more construction-heavy sets? Or even just come with construction pieces? You know, like, Elf sets had some Hero Factory parts in them. Ninjago sets have had Hero Factory parts in them. I don't know, you know? Something to think about, at least. Something to think about. But I don't know. I mean, maybe some Ninjago stuff could get some CCBS-style construction figures. I don't know. It's sad that, you know, a lot of the original IPs are kind of not as popular with people, and we are just sort of more getting the kind of pop culture-y stuff. I mean, I love that. I don't really have a problem with that per se, but I would, of course, like to see more, you know, original content. It's always nicer. Often some of the best themes from LEGO, to be honest. So I don't know, you know, who knows? And kind of going back to Overwatch again, you know, maybe there's some way, kind of Skylanders-wise, I don't know, maybe you could incorporate some of the CCBS stuff with the actual game in some way, you know? Is there some way, whether it's with Overwatch or not, that you can do a sort of Skylanders-style system? Or like they were doing with the LEGO Agent stuff, where some of it actually did directly work with an app. Maybe some of that sort of stuff can work. Nexo Knights was doing a little bit of that, who knows? How well does that actually work? Does that appeal to kids? Could we get some of that with a CCBS theme, where we get the CCBS that we like, and it appeals to kids because it relates to some form of technology, or some video game, or some app? I don't know. I think that could be really interesting. It'd be an interesting way of looking at it. And heck, with LEGO Overwatch, and speaking of video games, do you think there's other LEGO video games that we might be, you know, kind of getting sets for, whether it's construction or not, you know? Obviously, certain games, like maybe Assassin's Creed or Halo, which have gone through LEGO ideas, and LEGO said no because they thought it's too violent. But heck, The Simpsons can be pretty violent sometimes, and we got sets from that, so who knows how those rules have, you know, going to be bent and changed and stuff like that. But that's at least something to think about, you know? Maybe there'll be some other video games that we've got mocks for. So kind of my discussion with this was just asking a lot of questions. But, you know, it opened up some interesting conversation, I'm sure. It's hard to have a conversation with myself, per se. So maybe this is something for a podcast in future. But, hey, if you've got a topic that you want me to briefly discuss, or some interesting LEGO news that's come out, I'll be sure to discuss it in the future. And, heck, if you've got an idea for a topic, throw me it in the comments. I'll talk about it next time. And, heck, what are some of your thoughts on some of those questions that I asked about LEGO Overwatch and possible construction in the future? Let me know. Be happy to hear them. So, before we finish up, turns out this is going to be a little bit of a longer series. Who'd have thought? I'm going to leave you with a little bit of a something to think about while you build. So, I heard this quote the other day. So, what the quote said: the best advice that they've received on thinking creatively comes from a blogger named Jason Cote. I don't know how to pronounce his name. I'm going to say Cote because it sounds nicer. So, Jason Cote, he said, creative things just take time, and creative people make time. I think this is such a powerful wisdom because really all creativity and design require, on some level, is time and effort. Making the time and the effort tends to wiggle its way in. No matter what it is that you want to do, if you can find the time to just think and work on it, you'll reach some level of something towards that thing. Or you'll actually reach that thing itself, depending on where you're at in your process, who knows. So if you want to think creative, make time. End of quote. I think that was really interesting. I just wrote that down after I heard it because I thought it was really cool. That notion of if you kind of put that time out there, if you just set aside time and you just kind of dedicate yourself to doing it, who knows what'll come up. like I said earlier, don't kind of judge the result, just kind of let it happen, see where it takes you, and whatever kind of creative thing you're working on, well, maybe it'll come through. And you may be like, but Ben, I have such a busy schedule, I work so much, I'm at school all day, I can't afford any time. Well, wake up 30 minutes earlier, go to bed 20 minutes later, something like that. Just even just little small pockets of time, 5, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. If you can afford an hour, go ahead. However long you can afford, even if it's just a small amount of time. Just, spend a little bit of time working on building something. Or heck, maybe you don't even need to build it. While you're waiting for the bus to arrive to take you to school, while you're sitting in class, bored out of your mind, or you just got a little bit of downtime, get out a pen and paper, draw a mock, draw an idea, or even just sit there and have a little bit of a think. While you're waiting to go to sleep, have a little bit of a think about something you could build. Play with some techniques in your head. I don't know, see what you can come up with. Visualize your mock. I don't know. Just try it. Just see how it works. But as Yoda said, do or do not. There is no try. So just do it. Have fun. Build something. That's my advice for today. That's it for the show. That's all I got, guys. So, if you enjoyed the show, let me know. Like I said, don't know how often this will come out. I'm thinking bi-weekly. I think that might be cool. So, but stay tuned for the next episode. And like I said, there's various things in here. If you've got recommendations for them, let me know. Be sure to check the links in the description for all the people I talked about, as well as my own social media, all that jazz. And I'll see you in the next one, guys. This has been BIS for the fans. Happy building. See you next time.